The Splatoon series has been a standout for Nintendo, a fresh take on online shooters that's fast, fun, and very unique. Now, my partner and I have been sinking many hours into Splatoon 3 lately, but there's no denying that there's a nagging feeling that the series isn't living up to its full potential. So before we get into what Splatoon 4 needs to do to avoid being another safe sequel, let's rewind a little bit. The original Splatoon dropped in 2015 on the Wii U, an unexpected hit on a struggling console. It matched chaotic, ink-splattered turf battles with quick matchmaking and low-stakes fun. It was fresh, colourful, and uniquely Nintendo. Even after the service shut down in 2024, it was remembered as a bold and inventive debut of a new IP. Also, it was very Nintendo of Nintendo to have an online competitive shooter without any blood or guts. Then came Splatoon 2 on the Switch in 2017. It had bigger sales, more weapons, more modes like Salmon Run and Clan Blitz, but to many, it still felt like Splatoon 1.5 rather than a fully realized sequel. Quality of life gripes like forced news intros, gear change restrictions, lack of voice chat, and weird limitations like time-locked salmon runs held this game back chronically. And then we fast forward to Splatoon 3 in 2022. With 5 years of feedback, hopes were high. And to be fair, it did deliver in a lot of ways. There was now 24/7 salmon runs, so there's no restrictions. There were more new weapon classes, more customizations for your weapons and gear, new modes like Table Turf Battle. But despite all that, the criticism remained. It still played things safe. So, with Splatoon 4 inevitably on the horizon for the Switch 2, it got me thinking, what does Splatoon 4 need to add to not be seen as another safe installment? Well, for starters, the most important thing Splatoon 4 needs to fix are its disconnection problems. Across all Splatoon games, the servers and prominent disconnection issues have been a plague that cannot be shaken. It's one of the most frequent complaints with any Splatoon game, and for good reason. The games have a fairly normal online matchmaking routine, such as getting into a lobby, opening a menu, clicking which mode you want, waiting for a match, and then eventually jumping in. However, unlike other online games, Splatoon makes some really questionable decisions. If a player disconnects early enough on in the match, the entire match closes down. This means that 7 of the 8 people who weren't disconnected are all kicked back out into the lobby and have to wait for a new match to begin again. Now, I wouldn't mind this if it was infrequent, but a significant portion of your time in playing online modes in this game will just be waiting in the lobby after a premature match closure. But why does this game disconnect so much? Well, unlike regular online games, Splatoon doesn't actually have dedicated servers, nor does it have strict regional matchmaking. It relies on peer-to-peer gameplay, so one player is essentially chosen as the host, and everyone connects to them. If that host then has a weak connection or becomes unstable, or anything like that, you experience lag, rubber banding, and just straight up disconnect. And for a game that can only essentially survive on its online experience, it's simply not good enough. Sometimes I've experienced a match taking up to 3 minutes to start a game. A match in this game is only for 3 minutes, so you're telling me that I have to wait for the same amount of time, if not longer, than a match just to start a match. So how do we fix it? What are my solutions? First, let's have dedicated servers to enhance stability. Get rid of the peer-to-peer as it creates so much uncertainty around the stability of each game. No one likes it, and it frequently detracts from the online experience, only creating frustration toward the game. Secondly, if someone is dropped from the game, don't close down the entire match. There are so many people waiting in other lobbies to join a match. I would much rather have someone join partway through the match rather than close the entire game down and roll the dice again that all 8 players will have a stable connection in the next match. However, if you do get those stable servers, hopefully you won't have to resort to something like this. Next, let's also add some true regional matchmaking filters. Splatoon 3 has some very soft regional parameters in place, so you'll typically be linked to those in your area in an attempt to reduce latency. This sounds good in theory, but in times of low player counts, you'll get people from all around the world just to try to fill out a lobby, which further adds to lag and match instability. Let's have true regional servers, as well as the option to let us choose what regional server we want to go in. All of these issues can be quickly resolved so there will be very minimal disruptions and maintains the game's aim of being that fast-paced, quick pick-up and play experience. Adding to the overall stability also prevents players from being hit with this stupid 10-minute blockout suspension, essentially being punished for the unstable connection set up by the game. This wasn't on me, this was on the game. Now my next point of improvement would be to look to Mario Kart 8 and allow 2 players to locally join an online match. I'd love to be able to sit on the couch next to my partner in a split screen scenario and have us on the same team or even go up against each other while playing with others online at the same time. Another thing you can take from Mario Kart 8 are its map selections. Usual online turf battles in Splatoon will cycle through 2 maps for any given 2-hour period. So when you pick up the game to play, you know that for a significant time of your play, you're only going to be on 2 maps. It really is not enough, and since the maps are fairly basic in nature, more on this in a second, the gameplay becomes quite tiresome. Look to Mario Kart 8 where there is a voting system. Give us a list of the maps to vote on and someone's choice is selected at random. It keeps the game feeling fresh and players will never know what map is coming up next. Currently, if a player doesn't like the 2 maps on offer, they'll just turn the game off. So let's move into the maps specifically. Splatoon 4 needs to go way harder when it comes to the overall map design. First of all, I'd like a map builder. Let players create, share, and battle on their own custom stages. Nintendo fans are absurdly creative, already demonstrated by games that have been previously released. Not letting them design maps in a multiplayer game like this feels like a huge missed opportunity. You could even have a rotating playlist featuring the top rated community maps for each month, or official competitions for the best design. I don't know, but it's free replay value and endless variety. Now when it comes to the official maps, not player made maps, they desperately need to be more complex and interactive. In Splatoon 3, too many of the maps just boil down to you running across a flat map into your enemy's territory. There might be a ramp here or there, or maybe a small lift if you're lucky, and it's serviceable, but it gets stale so fast. Take inspiration from maps like Mahi Mahi Resort, where new areas are revealed mid-match. That's the kind of dynamic that is missing from these games, and that's what keeps things interesting. Now imagine that in reverse. Let's have parts of the map that lock off after a minute. Suddenly, every match becomes a tactical decision. Do you push out early to lock in that extra turf percentage before it gets closed off? Or do you ignore it and focus on the rest of the map, knowing that the field could shift in any second? Now take that line of thinking and expand on it even further. Have things that happen mid-match that disrupt the game and shifts players' focus. Something like an enemy appearing out of the middle of the map, and whichever team shoots it the most makes it explode in their team's color ink, covering a huge portion of the map. Just something to change up the dynamic, and it stops it from feeling like a typical jump in, 3 minutes of play, jump out routine. I'd also like more complexity with the maps, with secret tunnels, some verticality, warp zones, asymmetrical layouts, anything that adds chaos and variety. Most Splatoon maps fall into the same square or rectangle format, which limits how creative your playstyles can be. By making these maps more interactive, unpredictable, and player-driven, Splatoon 4 could finally break out of that formula that has been stuck in for almost a decade. Now let's move into one of the biggest pain points, and let's talk about the communication, or the complete lack thereof. Nintendo's gonna Nintendo, which means they're still weirdly allergic to letting players actually talk to each other. There's no built-in voice chat, no text chat, and they still expect us to use a really shitty mobile app that no one wants to touch. Trying to coordinate anything with friends you meet through Splatoon is borderline impossible. My friends and I will make a room to play together, but with how common disconnects are, we are constantly getting kicked out. Then what? We can't coordinate who's setting up the next room, what mode we want to play or switch to, or whether we just want to run some private matches. We just all end up standing there, jumping in front of each other like fucking cavemen, hoping someone takes the lead. Now because these people added me through Splatoon, I don't have any of their socials or Discord. There's not even the basic coordination features like, hey, I'll go roller, you take sniper, or wanna switch to salmon run? Just some basic text chat features. This completely kills any sense of team coordination or real community building within the game itself. With the Switch 2 supposedly getting native voice chat, that's a step forward, but Nintendo, please give us something simple, an in-game text chat, or release some kind of lobby messaging system. Anything is better than nothing, and I'll take whatever I can get. Alright, let's speed run through some rapid fire improvements needed to be seen in Splatoon 4. Weapon swapping mid-match. If I spawn in and I see that I'm on a sniper and the 3 other people in my team are also on snipers, just let me switch to another weapon after I die. Next, more customization. Give us weapon skins. Let me style my shooter. Let us tweak our outfits more. I've got over 3.5 million coins and nothing worth spending it on. If cool cosmetics were unlockable with in-game currency, I'd be grinding this shit for days. Next, more events, please. The Splatfests are great, but the activity drop-off between them is brutal. Look at the difference here between how many friends are online during Splatfest versus not. We need more frequent events, weekly, even mini ones, to keep people logging in. To further add to this, I think we also need daily, weekly, and monthly missions. We need more reasons to log in. Give us rotating missions like get 50 splats with a slosher or 20 splats with a splatana for exclusive rewards. It encourages variety, sets goals, and keeps the grind interesting. Next is I want crossover rewards. Where are the Nintendo collabs? Imagine a new Kirby game drops or something like that, and you can earn a Kirby hat in Splatoon 4. Tie in cosmetics with other releases for your other properties. It promotes both games and keeps things feeling fresh and celebratory. Speaking on the merch, let's stop this merch nonsense. Why do we have something like 4 different ways to get cosmetics? There's the main shop, you have the shop in the Salmon Run, you have Plaza orders, and then you also have the Nintendo Switch app. Just unify it all. All cosmetics should be accessible in the game. Stop trying to force us to use this shitty Switch app that no one needs or wants. The cosmetic items in this app aren't even that good either, so it feels completely worthless to even have it. Next up is mouse support on the Switch 2. The Switch 2 has come out and shown that it has a mouse input mode, so Splatoon 4 needs to get on it. Give us the option for something closer to mouse and keyboard controls. It'd be a game changer, especially for competitive players. Next is an improved lobby system. Let us queue as a group and not get kicked out when someone disconnects. Add rematch options. Let players stay together between games if they want. The current system is so rigid. Next is seasonal themes and story progression. Tie each season into a light story arc to keep that story moving. A couple of examples that do this really well are Marvel Rivals or Fortnite. They just have new content drops and a couple of lore reveals, and it keeps players invested beyond just cosmetics. Now, of course, there's always more that can be done from what I've said. There can be smarter matchmaking, improved rank incentives, better ranked matchmaking itself, less repetitive rewards, more longer term goals, and this is just to name a few. But at the core, these are big shifts that could finally take Splatoon from good to genre defining. So that's how I'd handle Splatoon 4. It doesn't need to reinvent the wheel, but it just needs to finally realize the potential this series has been building toward for a decade. It can still hold on to its Splatoon identity, but with the additional power of the Switch 2, it can be better, faster, smarter, and more fun than ever. So those are my suggestions. What would you add or change in Splatoon 4 to see it fully realize its true potential?